Right, I believe we are actually live. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. I recognise that most of the viewers will be viewing this retrospectively. Let me start. I'm Brian Waters from the QTube, and I'd like to start by wishing our American cousins happy Thanksgiving and everybody happy Black Friday. So let me introduce our two regular reviewers here. Brian and Stefan. Brian, would you like to give a quick intro?
Yeah, my name is Brian Morrell, and I am the Deputy Head of the School of Music and Education at Leeds Conservatoire that actually encompasses film music.
Excellent. And
Hi,
Stefan?
I'm Stefan Gordon. I'm Principal Lecturer at Leeds Conservatoire. I work with Brian on the film music pathway, teaching film theory, film script writing and film aesthetics.
Lovely, thank you very much. So this is a regular thing that we do once a month. We release a new clip into our library for composers to get stuck into, and we have a form where they can submit their entries, and then we do these live streams a month later to go through some of those and discuss useful observations on those, and then everyone else that's submitted but we don't have time to cover in the live stream receives a written review or written bit of feedback from Brian and Stefan. So we try and get through as many as we can. So this month's clip was an unusual one. It was a public service announcement type of video, the first one that we've done in our library, and it was obviously timed as well to be quite topical with the American elections. It didn't prove quite as popular as some of the other videos, so we had a little discussion earlier on, Brian and Stefan, about the sort of validity of this type of video for practicing as a composer. And Brian, you wanted to make some points, didn't you, about...
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, if you get something like this as a professional composer, I mean, you would, like most of the composers that have submitted music for tonight, they've played it straight. And they have basically, written music which resembles what's on the screen, and they've done a really good job of doing that. However, it's not the only context in which a scene like this might appear. I don't know if anybody's familiar with a program called the John Oliver Show. John Oliver is a British comedian who works in America and does this satirical news show, and he often uses videos like the ones you're going to see tonight. But the music behind it will be a little bit different to what you'd expect, and that's just to try and flush out a different kind of context. So if you're trying to make it a little bit, I mean, for example, if we're trying to make it a little bit sad, then you might play it one way. If you were trying to think of President Trump, for example, in context of this video, then you might put some horror music behind it. It's just a way that music can really kind of inform what we see. Steph, do you want to play if you could play the film without music?
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
And I'll play a kind of sad, just a straight on the keyboard, a little sad thing behind it, which just slightly lightens the mood a little bit.
You should be able to see and hear that. Let's roll in.
Okay.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy. Yeah, that was just an example of music which doesn't quite match the pictures because it's giving you a slightly sad, slightly melancholic kind of feel, although the one, the narrator on the show is all positive, saying, people must vote and all the rest of it, and the music is telling you something a little bit different. And if we went off the deep end and we give it a kind of Trumpian context, do you want to play it again?
Yeah,
Steph,
I'll play again from the top. Yeah, okay, it's rolling.
Yeah.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in.
I mean, that's just a really quick and dirty example of how you might ironize it, basically. Or you can play it straight and you can write, what sounds like American feel good music. And I have to say, most of the people tonight have done exactly that. They've played what Brian expected them to write, and they've done a really good job of it. So I was just simply saying there are sometimes a different way of looking at it, and obviously it depends on the director. I wouldn't play the horror music for that unless the director had specifically said this is anti-Trump. Can you give it some,
I think it's a fantastic illustration of how you can leverage these clips to actually have some fun and also see the power of music to change the mood of the clip and all that sort of thing. So I'm really keen to see people experiment and go off-piste, even though we provide these spotting sheets. I mean, they're literally just an example of what you might receive from some hypothetical director, and you can practice working to a brief. But for these reviews, it's absolutely not essential that you followed that brief. We will review whatever you submit. So if you wanted to do, music from Psycho, whatever, we would give that an equally, attentive review. So I just want to say again that the spotting sheets are entirely optional for you composers out there to use or not use, depending on what you want to do with the materials that we provide.
I thought it was to add to this. I thought it was interesting that, because obviously reading through the notes that a lot of the people, when they submitted it and they put in their notes about what that's what they were doing. They were following the brief, and and a couple of them actually said that the brief was quite restrictive. So they obviously felt that they needed to, and it works both ways. It is, as you say, doing this is a chance for them to try out stuff that they wouldn't necessarily do, so they don't need to stick to that. But also I think it is quite, on the other side, it is useful because in some ways I think you would totally get a director that would maybe have constructed something like this and said, and put in it, it's American, we need Star-Spangled Banner, we need it to be American, so they would have put that. But it's how you do that, because for a composer they're going to actually struggle to make that work around the voiceover, because it's pretty much, once the voiceover kicks in this clip, it's wall to wall. And it's very hard, because then you've got, for an audience, when they hear a voiceover, that's what they're following. It's that takes priority, so writing over that is going to be problematic.
Well, also I'll just add to that we often cover this in class, that when you're writing music over dialogue, it's always very difficult, and you need to stick to, I think I've mentioned it on this show a few times, that you need to stick to more general harmony rather than melodies that are going to stick out. And of course, when you're dealing with off-screen dialogue, in this case a narration, it's even harder, because when you can see somebody talking on screen, if you see somebody talking, you see their lips move, then a viewer can understand that. And when you play the music, the music can work really well. If the dialogue is off screen and you can't see the person talking, the viewer actually needs slightly more of that, So if you start adding music to that, it can be a lot harder. Basically, just generally writing music for dialogue that's off screen is very, very hard. And
you said that you'd done some of that type of stuff with documentary as well, which is quite similar, isn't it?
Yeah. When I worked as an arranger on several documentaries when I lived in London quite a while ago, and the composers always had trouble because all the narration is off screen. And I can remember working with a guy called George Fenton many years ago, and him saying that it's very difficult to write music for this, because you got to fit the music behind the voice. In a way, you're not writing to picture, you're writing to the person's voice. And it's then that I realized that what he was writing over the talking was just long chords, and then if there was any gaps, that the director had carved in some gaps in the dialogue, that's when the music would become actual proper music.
So I mean, a clip like this is equally, I would imagine, valid in terms of developing your skills for documentary genre as well.
Absolutely.
Massively. I think, and to me, I thought this was a real challenge, this clip, actually. I know we talked about the Halloween one being a challenge, which it was. But this was a challenge even a step further, and because of the amount of voiceover. But there was one other thing actually that struck me, is that something like this that's got a message, and the way that it's been edited, and I know you edited this, Brian, is that obviously the end section is where you have the text on screen. You get it gets to the point. It gets to the central message. So the rhythm of it and the rhythm of the edit changed at the end. Now, I felt one of the issues that came up with listening to the submissions was that they would set a tempo for the piece, and that tempo would run right across the board. So that means that that's dominating the natural tempo in the editing. And I've talked about this kind of stuff on here before. So you've got to sort of follow the flow of it, and I felt that was possibly one of the things that was. I mean, it's great this what we're doing here, because this gives you a chance for your subscribers and stuff to work on this. So I think it was just getting that flow right and following and getting used to the actual rhythm of the piece, really.
Yeah, these films, I mean, these challenges, they're not easy at all. No. I mean, you might look at this video and think, oh, it's just a public service announcement. It's some woman talking about America and voting. What could be easier? But they are absolutely composers' graveyards. I mean, they are so hard to do. Yeah. And it's because there's talking all the way through. So as a composer, what do you do? What's missing? And that's the issue that Steph's talking about, and they're some of the points we'll make as we go through hopefully 6 people that we've listened to talk about tonight.
Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's crack on.
Okay.
So the first one. Do you want to cue it up and introduce it, Stefan?
Yes. Well, I'll just get this up and running. So hopefully you can see that. So this is Bertrand Capitaine. Is the first one. He's a regular contributor, actually, and
I remember the name from before.
Yeah, I think he's from France.
Okay, great. Right, so here we go.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment. These issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Great. Should I go for it, Steph?
Go for it.
Yep. So this was great. I mean, they're all good tonight, to be honest with you. It's a very nice, a very slightly rearranged version of the Star Spangled Banner. Some really nice oboe stuff over some of the scenes. But I mean, works really well. I mean, some really beautiful orchestration, convincing arrangement, and like I say, great use of the oboe. All I would say about the oboe, there's one bit where you've got the oboe, and I think there's an electric piano behind it. That is generally a bit of a weird combination. If you had an oboe, which is quite a bright instrument, you generally try and counter that with some soft strings behind it. To have two quite percussive, bright sounds is a bit strange. So if you use the oboe, maybe just tone down the electric piano behind it. The music does become very American and very euphoric. I mean, really rises to the occasion. Great ending as well. What I would say, and this is unfortunately a thing that's going to be a theme tonight, is that the music was loud in places, too loud in places, and also in places it drowned out the narrator. You've got two choices when you're writing behind an off-screen narrator. You either play it safe and just write long chords, or if you're writing something complex, then you would duck it, okay, which is just a term which means that the music automates down when the person is talking. But what happened here, as the music got really, really into it, it just became too much for the narration. So great music, a great musical version of what was on screen, but it needed to be dubbed and it needed to be not as loud. That was all.
We also spoke earlier, didn't we, about the importance of choosing the right register as well when you're writing with
Absolutely.
voice.
Yeah.
So there are different techniques, aren't there, I suppose, that you can use. You can duck it. You know, it's about not having too busy of a melody, I suppose, as well, and all sorts.
Yeah, the melody, keep it, if you're writing behind any dialogue, just keep the melody very long and just go for long harmonies, and that will serve you really well, and it'll help people look at the film and get the most out of the film. Because if you overwrite the music, what you're doing is you're basically shoving the film out of the way. There were some of these tonight, these clips where I listened to music and I started tapping my foot and going, yeah, this is great. And then I stopped listening to the narrator, you know, because the music was kind of so engrossing. So and like Brian said, there are some instruments that you would generally avoid if it was a male narrator, and some instruments, and likewise if it's a female narrator and you're up there with flutes and high clarinets and stuff, it often you come in perilously close to occupying the same sonic space. So if you ever see a documentary and you hear someone like Morgan Freeman, for example, who's got a very low husky voice, and you hear some nice mid-range strings, that's because the composer is avoiding that territory, otherwise it just becomes all bass, you know. So that's the kind of thing to avoid anyway.
Somebody mentioned in the chat, quite funny, that composers tend to be like guitarists, turning everything up to 11.
Absolutely.
It's a great point.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. In fact, I couldn't have said it any better, because I think that's absolutely spot on. I mean, I'll just echo what Brian said. Really, I wrote down or noted down, and I've made these notes before we met earlier as well. Mm-hmm. So I sort of, I put the same thing. I really like the inventiveness of this, but it's a really difficult clip to do because mainly because the voice, all the stuff we've said before. I put about it being overpowering. So, and the thing is, whilst volumes can easily be controlled, it's just, I think it's more of a sort of musical construction in a way of just sort of getting more shape around the voice. And one of the main points I wanted to make is to note what people have said in their comments, and in this one it said it was just a way wanted to do it to try and improving what they're doing, improving yourself, as he noted down. Absolutely, and that's what this is about. To try this stuff out is really key. I think one of the tips I would sort of suggest is to, once they've done it, to sort of maybe leave it for a couple of days if possible, come back to it and then think, trying to imagine put themselves in the position of the audience. What do you think the audience would react to when they listen back to it? And that's one way I think of approaching this, and I think in some ways that would be what they might pick up from it and just think, it's the voice is getting lost. I mean, as I say, it can be fixed with volumes, but I think it's more about pulling back. And Brian's pointed this out about the lines being too busy, over the top, and it's just, especially with voiceovers, they can't be fighting for space. Everything's got to sort of sit in the right place. When a director chooses to use a voiceover, it's got to sit there. And it can't be fighting for its own space because it's designed to be the main focus. So it goes back to the guitarist bit. I always think, you can approach it like a vocal in a track. You wouldn't overpower the vocal, a lead vocal in a track. So it's the same principle, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because just picking up on that comment about, people had to turn it up to number 11 or whatever the comment was. I mean, that is so true. And I think the thing is that when students come to our place to study film music, one of the most important things we have to try and point out to them is to not be as busy when they're writing. And it can be very, very strange message to pass on to a composer. Could you please not write as much music? And they say, well, I'm a composer. And the whole thing about turning it up to a number 11, there's a kind of creative version of that. And that is simply overwriting and overcooking it. And what you're doing is you're listening to your music as one thing. Yeah. Whereas what you should be doing is listening to your music, watching the video and thinking, do these two get on all right? Are these two actually in sync? And too many composers, and I've done it myself, too many composers are obsessed with music. And then you watch the finished product and you think, well, this is overcooked. So just tone it down, basically, which is very hard to do. Turn it down to number 7.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is what we sort of say, don't we? I think we've said this on many of these sessions, that composers are filmmakers. They have to approach it in a filmmaking sense rather than. And these are what the classes that we do, and the ones that I do, where I sort of say, take a step back from your music for a little bit and just see yourself as a filmmaker.
I mean, I suppose there are different strategies. If this is something that you're struggling with or that you're wanting to learn, then I guess there are different strategies, and the idea of stepping away from it for a day or two is obviously a good one. But also, perhaps maybe you just listen to the mix without the video, and just listen to it in your headphones, and just see, is the speech coming across loud and clear, or is it a little bit muddled and lost?
I mean, one thing I suggest to students very early on is that when they're writing, when they've actually got a film to write to, is to not be anywhere near a keyboard or any musical instrument. Have it playing, have a pen and paper handy, and just start deciding what kind of musical style you think will work in your head. Is it jazz? Is it 20th century romantic music? What is it? And then think about textures. What kind of textures do you want for it? Before you go anywhere near an instrument, start writing music. And if you do that, by the time you get to the keyboard, you'll have moderated yourself, and you will be producing something that's a little bit more kind of toned down. Whereas if you just go to a keyboard and you start reacting to a film, of course you're going to overcook it, because it's a natural thing to play music and to compose music and to play. Of course it is. The only way you can moderate that is to just look at the film, start making notes, and stop yourself from composing until maybe day 2.
And perhaps even just developing a habit that when you think you've finished, just turn it down by 2 dBs. And,
or take some notes out.
Take some notes out.
That's why I often at college, when people are bringing me music, I always get them to bring the Logic project, because then you can look at the notation, and I say, can you hear anything that might be a bit much in there? And people say no, but if you look at the screen and suddenly you're seeing thousands of black notes, and you're seeing loads of chords that are just absolutely top of each other, like 20-30 part voicing, suddenly it becomes obvious to them that they're overwriting. I don't just mean overwriting melodically, I mean overwriting chord-wise. Just every sonic piece of empty space doesn't have to be full.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, blowing our trumpet for a second, I guess that's one of the beauties of the library, is that you can find clips where the speech is wall to wall, as you say, and then we've got other clips where there's no speech, and they can really knock themselves out, so...
That's why this is great, doing this. I think it's just really good. There's a chance to try stuff out that you probably never, ever done before. I think this gives you might get a commission like this, and it's not something you really want to do, but you think, well, actually, this is a gig, so I'm going to give it a go. So.
The thing is, you will always get work that you didn't expect, right? I mean, you might look at that film and think, when am I ever going to get a public service film? But then the very, very first piece of TV music I ever did in the mid-90s was for a news channel. And it was news music. It was a theme it was a news theme for a show. I never thought in a month of Sundays I'd be writing news music, and yet it was the first thing out of the bag. It was the very first thing I did. I got this idea that I'd be writing romantic dramas and stuff and documentaries, and yet the first thing was a news program. So yeah, you never know what's around the corner.
Let's get stuck into the next one, shall we?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Shall I read you cue this one? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is James Guy.
Yeah.
Or it also comes up as J Arthur. So let's run this. Hopefully you can all see and hear that.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment, these issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Great. I don't know if James is in the audience or not, but
Not sure. I don't think he is. He's not in the chat, at least.
right. Okay. I thought this was excellent music. I just thought this was written by somebody who really understands how to structure music and how to capture the American, I hate this word, but the American zeitgeist, how to really capture that American feel-good thing going on. It was very rom-com, it was very American TV drama-esque, very, very excellent composing. Mainly long chords.
Oh, he's here. He is
great.
here.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
Mainly long chords with a bit of oboe and clarinet lines and stuff. So none of the stuff was overly busy. I still think it was a bit loud, to be honest with you, compared to the dialogue. But the music was brilliantly sculptured, and like I say, less big melodies. And this composer had done lots of nice lines, long lines. Again, it was aspirational. And great piano work towards the end. There was a lovely piano lick towards the end, which reminded me of James Newton Howard, actually, and the way he writes. He did a film called Signs where there was lovely piano writing. Excellent arrangement, great arrangement of woodwind. I mean, really, really top drawer. It did need to be ducked a little bit when the dialogue came in, and it did get a little bit choppy towards the end. But honestly, great piece of work. Yeah, really captured that American dream thing, if that's what you're going for. This guy nailed it.
Excellent.
Okay, can I just, before what I'm going to do is just share this with you as well. What James wrote here. This was what struck me straight away. I thought it was great. So it sort of, I think the energy of the piece was what he wrote here. So this was the first thing that struck me, and I thought this was great. And that what James did then he put into his music. And as Brian said, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought he had a real strong vision for it, which is written in the words that he's put to it, which was absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Things like the military snare just added that sort of great touch to this. There was lots of things it reminded me of. I thought it could be great film music. I thought it also could be some TV music, even, and I had quite a retro feel to it. I was thinking of things like 80s TV, and that's not, that's like a compliment, because I thought it covered a wide range of different styles. I thought it was, it was executed really well. I thought there was a real strong control of samples going on here. And my only sort of real criticism, and well, Brian's mentioned it about levels, I thought it was too loud, but also I felt a little bit, it's like I was saying at the beginning before we showed any clips, I think the weight of it was that the sort of certainly the early section, the beginning was great, and right to the middle, and then I thought when it gets towards the end, it started to sort of, there's a real sort of dominant bit in terms of the way it's edited, and the words on the page, on the screen and stuff need to come out, and I felt that the music was perhaps sort of tipping it over too much, and that kind of message was getting a little bit lost because the music was dominating a little bit. So I think just a little bit more shape at the end, which could easily be done. So it's about crafting it, and I think the more clips that James does, the better he'll get at doing that, because this showed real potential actually, and I thought it was a really well done piece. So
yeah, he's getting lots of kudos in the live chat. People seem to really enjoy his piece. So that's nice, and he's giving the kudos back for the QTube, so we like that.
He did say at the end, actually, didn't he? But I think it was something he said. Thanks for the opportunity. So many thanks to the QTube for this unique rescoring opportunity.
Excellent. We like James. All right. The check's in the post, as they say. So, who's queued up next, Stefan?
Right. Let's let me queue up the next one.
A difficult name for you to pronounce, I believe.
It is. This is Ron Guzmo Lobo. I hope I've said that correctly. Probably not.
I think it might be Brazilian. I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. Should we run this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Here we go.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment, these issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Yeah, I thought this was really good as well. I really liked it. It was a completely fresh approach. It reminded me a lot of a guy called Dave Grusin. I don't know if anybody listening has heard of that guy. He's done a lot of basically he's an American jazz piano player. He did a film called The Firm with Tom Cruise, and the whole score was piano, and it was all bluesy piano all the way through. And I think this worked a treat. Very laid back and meant to create this kind of relaxed feel, which I think is a really quite original way of looking at this video. Actually, creating a relaxed feel rather than trying to, ramp it up and be overly American. I thought the vocal over the top was really nice. I wish that had been a bit louder actually, because that was I don't know who was doing that, but that was really nice. On some of the chords you've got going on, you've got this thing going, which really was really good. And all I'll say is if you're doing that again at any point, is try and vary it, try and evolve that phrase. So after you've gone, you could go, just put some sevenths in there. There we go. slightly make it even more jazzy, because you had a lot of scope to do that, because the chord trick lasted quite a while. I did the slightly downside. It's a good downside, I think, is that I was so engrossed with the music that I did zone out of what the narrator was saying, and that's great because I love great music, but it's not so great for someone who's watching the film and maybe forgets what the woman said. So, you know, if you've got a really strong musical brand in there, that's great, but you sometimes have to just slightly tone it down a little bit. That's all. You know, there is such a thing as music that's simply too good, if you like, and too bright to be with film like that. But I thought it was a great piece anyway. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, same really. I thought when it started, I was like, oh, I really like the kind of more gentle approach to this. I thought that was really nicely done. And in the notes, he'd written that he wanted to support the dialogue. So I thought, oh, you know, this is going to be really good at. And it was, because I thought it was inventive, and there was little touches, like I think it was like finger clicks or finger snaps going on in there as a percussion. I thought that was he really thought about this, and with the harmonica and stuff. I thought this was really nice. I felt a bit, you know, much more of an organic approach to it. I thought it was a bit risky with the piano. I think Brian's sort of demonstrated it when you're using piano with voice. You know, it's always going to have they're going to battle against each other. So I thought that was, you know, possibly a problem. I also think because he got into a real groove with it, and the whole thing was kind of groove based. The voice isn't in a groove. That's the thing, it's changing, so you've got to be really careful, and particularly at the end, again, it's the same bit when it comes up on text on the screen, and you can hear the rhythm of the voiceover hitting that text, and with that groove of the music, because it was so well established right from the beginning, it was at odds with the voiceover, so it was sort of fighting for space, and that was the problem.
Just a bit
want to hear the next one?
Just a bit too metronomic for this, in a way. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Who's next?
Definitely. So, right, let me do this. Oh,
Lawrence.
Second. Right. Okay. Yes, so this is Lawrence Timoni. Okay, hopefully you can see and hear this. Here we go.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment. These issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Okay. I mean, when Steph was talking about the last one being a bit overly rhythmical, I couldn't help thinking, wait till you hear this one, because this one is like, I mean, I thought the intro for this was aspirational and inspirational. I really did. I thought the intro was just fabulous. The arpeggios always work so well, and when the camera was coming around the side of the skyscraper, it was just a great feel. The issue, and I think you probably know what I'm going to say, is that the music, which was brilliant by the way, it was so well played and so well arranged and executed, it's just too much. It's just too much for the film. It's too loud, it's too energetic, it's too busy. Great playing. If I was listening to this as a musician, I would be in awe of this. But we're not. We're listening. This is supposed to be film music. And it's fighting the dialogue, unfortunately. Musically, superb and excellent, but it just doesn't work with the pictures. It's too loud, for one thing, way too loud. And even if you ducked it and brought it down, the trouble with music that's this energetic and this musical is if you duck it and bring it down, then you end up with just something that sounds like, what's that sound in the background, you know? Musically interesting, but totally overwhelming. And lovely reworking of the Star Spangled halfway through. Great music, honestly, fabulous composer, but needs to rethink it in terms of accompanying a picture, that's all. Yeah.
Can I just share the screen again, just while I show you? So again, what I was struck by with Lawrence was the what he wrote, and I thought this was really good actually. And it was the energy that in the words that then, particularly when you put the end, make America not hate again. And it was just, I thought, the energy that's went into that then went into the music. And as Brian said, I was, just completely struck by the music. I thought, wow, this is just really well thought out, well constructed as a piece of music. The problem is it just all becomes one, because I've wrote down here, unfortunately, all the layers that were applied to the clip, it just made the whole thing really difficult to know what to listen to, because you've got the sound of the voice, of course, and then you've got the bits of sounds of the film as well, and then all this music, so it just all becomes one. I mean, you can't fault the music as in music on its own, but as Brian said it already, it's just, as film music, sometimes you just got to take a step back and from this and go, what are the audience going to make of this? And they would find it really difficult to know what to listen to, and that's what a director would just be like, this is not gonna work. I mean, it was great to listen to such energetic and well constructed and well executed music, but just putting it to picture is a different discipline, basically.
If you'd have had a film like that, but with no narration, maybe with just some shots of people in voting booths and American flag fluttering, that music would have been great, because that just makes the whole thing think, yeah, man, let's get out and vote. But it's the fact that the woman's talking, and I find myself thinking, God, I wish she'd just shut up. And I thought, no, I can't say that, because that's the film. That's the film. Like, it should be the music that actually gets turned down. So yeah, like Steph said, the energy in that music was just unbelievable.
Okay.
And it can't be contained, unfortunately. You can't contain something like that,
Excellent. I think we can do one more. What do you think? And then go into our concluding raffle and everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Let me cue this one up.
Or do you want to do two more? I know you had two.
We've got Tom and Fabio left.
We can do two
then,
yeah? Yeah, okay.
Right, you should be able. So this is Tom Belknap?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment. These issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Great. Now, musically, that was probably one of the simplest ones we've listened to, but that's why it worked. It worked. The only thing that was wrong with this really is it was too loud. It started off all right, and it basically got too loud. But that's the single only thing that I can really fault on this. If the volume had been better on that, it just works so well, because it's a simple idea that just repeats and repeats, and then little embellishments and stuff. You can hear the narrator, you know what she's saying. I mean, I listened to it then, and I could really hear what she was saying, and for me, I then got the whole package, you know. I felt I was watching a really good film, and that's what music is supposed to do to a film. It's supposed to make it even better, and that's what that music did for me. It was just too loud. But those things are easy to fix. You just don't do it again, and you just make it not as loud next time, and you learn. Great treatment of the orchestra. Some simple and reflective, but really good, I thought.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Similar actually, and I just very quickly just reshare, just because it's the bit I've kept talking about. It was here, so it's this bit where I think it's towards the end of the clip, so it's 109, where you can hear the rhythm of the voice, because she sort of as she reads those words out. So what the point I'm making is that I like this. I thought there was a real vision with it, and I like the kind of the rhythmic element to it. And Tom had written on his notes, he'd written about where is it? The 5/8 rhythms provide a sort of forward-pushing pulse that felt heroic to me. That's what he wrote. So, and I thought that came across and that worked well. But I thought the clip became tied to that rhythm. I think that was the problem. So whilst it changes rhythm again at the end, and it's got its own natural rhythm, the film couldn't break free from that. So I think the music needed to sort of develop and needed to add a bit more shape towards the end. Well, I very much like the idea, actually, and I thought that idea and the energy came across really well, actually, and I thought this was good. Perhaps a bit more in sort of production, in terms of production. I thought some of the samples were a little bit exposed, but that can easily be sort of solved with further production techniques, really. But well done, Tom.
Excellent. All right, and the last one for this evening,
Yep.
Fabio Conti, yeah?
Yep. Let me do that one up.
Fabio Conti. I believe he's another of our regulars.
Is Fabio with us?
I haven't seen any evidence of Fabio's presence.
Okay,
He might be incognito.
America, the future is in your hands. The upcoming election isn't just another vote. It's your chance to shape the country you live in. Healthcare, education, the economy, the environment. These issues affect you and those you love. No matter where you're from, what you believe, or what your story is, you have the power to make a difference. When you cast your ballot, you're standing up for your values, your community, and the change you want to see. This election is about us, our families, our futures. It's time to stand up, be heard, and take control of what matters most to you. Don't sit this one out. Get informed, get involved, and vote. Together, we decide the future of America.
Great. I thought that was really good. I thought the tremolo strings at the beginning was such a nice start. It just sets the. If you start off with something soft like that, and the tremolo strings, it just, I mean, the way you start a clip and you start a cue musically is so important, and people never forget it. Going with the Star Spangled Banner again, a lot of people seem to have done that tonight. Great idea. Unfortunately, it has got a very dominating theme, which everybody knows. So, which means that they tend to listen to that, and maybe they don't listen to the narrator as much. I thought the middle eight, if we can call the second section of the Star Spangled Banner middle eight, the bit where it goes, that bit, that was beautiful because he just toned it all down. It was strings on their own, and that was absolutely good. And because it was strings on its own and you got rid of the trumpet or the French horn, you could accommodate the female narrator. You had the strings playing the tune really softly, and you had her talking, and the two lived very happily. So very well put together. Again, obvious choice, but obviously the composers are staying with this Star Spangled Banner thing because it's obviously a good narrative choice. Music wasn't too loud for most. Oh, good. The music wasn't too loud for the most part, which was good. It was quite well mixed and balanced. But the second middle eight section with the strings doing the middle section, that was absolutely sublime. And so were the tremolo strings at the beginning. It's just when you hear the French horn or the trumpet, whatever it was, playing the theme, it becomes a little bit distracting, and we start listening to the horn player and not the narrator. So yeah, great piece, honestly. Well done.
Yeah. Similar points in Fabio's notes. He put my arrangement of the American anthem is very simple. That's what I liked about this, actually. I thought it kept it really simple, actually. And whilst, and Brian's already mentioned it, the Star Spangled Banner is hard to make that work round voice. It did actually sit back, but that was the way it was mixed a little bit. But also the way that the instruments were used, I thought was well done. I tell you what I did like is that Fabio didn't come in straight away. They let the picture fade in, actually. I thought that was a nice little touch. And then things like the handshake bit at the beginning, I thought the music over that, it did actually work quite well. And Brian mentioned it, about the middle eight, if that's what it is. Bit that was the bit that really worked towards the end. I thought, we've really got something. I thought maybe that's what needed for this, is to actually develop that middle eight and use it right across the whole film in a way that might have made that more effective in terms of just using the Star Spangled Banner. But it goes back to what we were saying at the very beginning of this tonight's session, is that they've obviously they followed the spotting notes, the spotting sheet with this and gone with it, which is in some ways is the positive side of it, that it's good that they're using what maybe a director would say, right, I want this, even if what the director's asking for is almost impossible. You've got to give it a go to keep the client happy, all that kind of stuff.
I think when he got rid of the brass for the middle eight, I think that was, like I say, that was beautiful, because you kept the theme, but you've basically made it into a romantic gesture rather than this is such a, that theme is kind of so so kind of bom bom bom, whereas when you take all that rhetoric out of it and you just go in with strings doing the middle eight, it's just beautiful. It becomes another piece of music,
Lovely.
But well done to everyone.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Including our two sterling reviewers. Thank you, chaps. We will wrap up in a little while, but stay with us, as they say on children's TV. We're going to do our prize draw now. So every time that we do one of these live reviews, we are fortunate enough to be able to offer a library from Fracture Sounds, who are a marvellous sample library company based here in the UK. They're doing some brilliant work. They've got some free instruments, their Blueprint series, and they've got some non-free instruments, and they're running a Black Friday sale, of course, at the moment. So there's some great deals to be had on their website, which is fracturesounds.com. I noticed that they're offering 45% off their everything bundle, which is basically all of their instruments. I think the sale is running for another 10 days or so. So yeah, we've got all the names of the composers that submitted for this on a wheel, which I will show you. Yeah, there they are. So you can see we didn't get so many submissions this time, but that's good for the ones that did submit, because you have an increased statistical chance of being victorious. So let's spin the wheel and see who this month's lucky winner is. Oh, look at that. That was not a fix. This is not a, gratitude for praising the QTube, but our winner is James Guy. So, well done, James. Fantastic. I don't know what's happened to the audio. There we go. So yeah, James, I will reach out to you. You will have a degree of choice as to which instrument you would like. So it's basically any solo instrument, so not the bundles, but any of the solo instruments. So have a look, have a think, and I'll be in touch with you and we'll organise that for you. So that's fantastic, and thank you to Fracture Sounds. Please do head over to their site and give them some love. So let me just quickly rattle through some QTube news. I'm sorry, Brian and Stefan, that you have to sit through this, but
No, it's all good.
Here we are. So I'll try and get through it as quickly as I can. So we're running Black Friday, of course, over this weekend. So it's literally just 3 days, including today. There is a discount code which is shown on the screen at the moment, which will give you 50% off anything that you select from our library, including membership. So if you're not currently a member, or you want to upgrade from monthly to annual or something like that, you will get 50% off everything in your basket. So it's a great opportunity to save big time. But that will finish at the end of the weekend on Sunday evening UK time. But that is currently active. We have also, of course, introduced some new things into our library. So we have 3 big things here. So we have for the first time, you can get our first film, Activities of Daily Living, in its entirety, unscored, as a standalone item from our library. Members will get 50% off of that. And then there's the Black Friday discount running as well. So you can get it at an absolute bargain price. That's a 12-minute drama starring Tara Fitzgerald, who was in Game of Thrones, and some brilliant performances. So a really nice film that we made not so long ago, although time flies. And then this is a new thing. So the one in the middle there is the raw dialogue takes from the production of Activities of Daily Living. And this is probably not of great interest to composers, but we are also starting to provide resources for other people involved in film post-production sound. And this is something which will be a great value to anybody who's looking to develop their skills in post-production sound, and specifically dialogue editing. So again, that's available with a 50% member discount, and of course the Black Friday discount would apply as well. And then finally, we have the full 12-minute version of a Blender film called Tears of Steel, which is a really lovely, it's a sort of quite dystopian science fiction / drama, really great little film. CGI you know, it really looks good. There's plenty of action actually in this film, so it's a really good one to get your teeth into. So that's now available. Again, you know, a Black Friday discount would apply to anybody that was grabbing it this weekend. And then we also have, if I can find it, nope, not there. Sorry, just bear with me. Yes, we also have it. Now, this is the next thing. So these are completely free for members. This is 2 trailers bundled together that we've actually put together. These are completely new, by the way. I'm aware that for people who've been with us for a long time, we have had some bits and bobs from Tears of Steel before, but this is something completely new. So these are both approximately 1 minute long. There's a trailer for Tears of Steel, and there's a trailer for Cosmos Laundromat, which is an animation. They're both about 1 minute long. They're in very high quality. You get all of the audio assets and everything as per usual. There's no spotting sheet this time, so you can knock yourselves out. But those are really great things to work with. They couldn't be more different from the election thing that we've been discussing this evening. So yeah, grab those, free for members, and in a month's time, so over a month, on September the 5th actually, so this is also something new. So we are doing as an experiment, because we're aware that a lot of the people that watch these are actually in the States and/or they have day jobs. And so it may be, we're going to try an experiment of running the next review session on a Sunday evening to try and make it more accessible for more people. And so it's going to be at the same time of day, but on Sunday the 5th of January. But because it's a Sunday, the cut-off for submitting for that will be on the Friday morning UK time at 10 o'clock on Friday morning, the 3rd of January. So yeah, please do. I mean, those are 2 great little clips to get stuck into. And that's essentially it from me, I think, astonishingly. But that's quite a lot, isn't it? So yeah, Brian and Stefan, are you still awake? Are you still with us?
Yeah, we're still here.
Excellent. I thought you'd frozen there.
That's it.
All right, brilliant. Well, that's been an amazing hour. It's flown by as usual. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to all our American viewers. Yeah, good luck with your new I mean, I didn't say that, no. Yeah, is there anything else you want to finish with, Brian or Stefan? Thank you so much for your time.
No, I think I've said everything. I was just trying to think if there was a tune
my
to go
screen
along
has
with
gone.
your...
Do you want? Should we?
I was trying to think if there was a tune to go along with Brian saying that
I was going
President
to say,
Trump.
yeah.
I was just thinking...
The Trump gives them Trump vibes. Don't.
We can't hear it, actually.
Oh, can't you hear it? Sorry, right, okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that there was one thing that just came to mind, which
Are we still
was...
live, by the way? Are we still
We are live. We are still live.
Yeah, no swearing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was just to remind everybody that for those of you that didn't get mentioned but did submit, we will get written feedback out to you over the next little period. So yeah, that's a new thing that we're doing to make sure everybody gets some kind of feedback. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah,
thank you to everybody that's tuned in.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.